All right, so I'm gonna go over setup and the execution for the bench press for lifting maximum amount of weight, focused heavily on bodybuilding and hypertrophy still. So first of all, the positioning, your feet should be on the ground and flat. It should not be up in the air. It should not be sprawled out like this, completely planted and squared. It gives you a good foundation to execute from the bench press. You can use a little bit of leg drive if you are failing. And your butt, your upper back, and your head should be all 3 points. The butt, back, head are straight on the bench press. That is more of a safety issue because if your butt alleviates from it, you can cause a lower back injury. Same thing for your neck. If your neck's not on the bench, that can hurt your cervical spine. So make sure all of them are through the whole entire setup as well as the execution of the bench press, that it's completely all points of contact on the bench. Also, when you're setting up, two different things. You want to roll your scapulars back, so that's your back, and then down. So when you're on the bench, you want to have that cue. It's back and then down. That gives you more of a secure position and more tight form for the base of your bench. The bar, there's going to be different types of bars. Some have multiple rings, some do not. This does not. It has the rings out here. So before you do it, when you're warming up, you want to make sure, if it's the same bar, you kind of know where the position is, but if there's different bars, like for instance, this gym has different bars, then you have to reset up and figure out with your warm-up weights what the correct positioning of your hands are. So for instance, this one I've never used before, so I'm going to set up and figure out where my hands are supposed to be. So the bar should be, where you're placing it, it should be perpendicular. The forearm should be perpendicular to the ground. So it should not be too wide, like out here, and also should not be too narrow. The narrower the grip, the more strain it puts on the wrist. That's why if anyone's bench pressed, if you do too much of a narrow grip, it targets the triceps and it causes a lot of strain on your wrist. If it's too wide, it puts a lot of strain on the shoulder and chest tendons and ligaments. The best amount of power and the best activation and safe position for a bench is when the forearm is perpendicular to the ground. With the setup, you want to be far away that when you go through the motion, you're not hitting these racks. A lot of gyms have different types of them, but you do not want to be too close that when you're executing movement, you are hitting these. We also do not want to be too far out so that when you're racking it, it ends up being a long travel distance. It just needs to be in the middle when you're executing. So from here, see that I'm lifted off, and then when you're executing, I'm nowhere close to the side racks. And then I can easily rack it with just a slight tilt back. So that's the sweet spot, is probably 1 or 2 inches out here. It gives you a much leeway in case you do sway a little bit, but not far enough that when you rack it, you can't rack it. It's a huge travel distance. When you're benching through the movement, you don't want to have the bar up here to your neck. This causes a lot of strain on the tendons and ligaments as well. This is where pec tears happen. So anything above here, all the way from the neck, you want to have it where your nipple line is. So right around here, and that is the safest position. Also, when you're executing the movement, with your wrist, you want to kind of picture that you're rotating, bending the bar this way. That will keep your shoulder joint locked into place. You're able to execute the movement without any type of shaking. It basically isolates it so you can just focus on the movement. And when you are benching, you want to focus, because you have your scapulas retracted and down, that you can focus on pushing your chest together. So that's what you want to focus on. You don't want to focus on just moving the weight. That'll put more focus on your triceps and your front delts when you're doing a bench press, because those are the secondary movers, is your tricep and your front delt. If you're focused on keeping everything back and you're executing your movement, you're going to be able to focus more on your chest and getting more activation from it. So that's how you do a bench press movement.